говорит, мне все время это не работал, блядь. Какой-то кринж просто. Ладно. Бля, так. Так, интересно. Так, интересно. А, ну-ка, сейчас у нее есть заряжка? Так, интересно. А, ну-ка, сейчас у нее есть... Ну, пиздец, у меня заряжка это полсекунды. Recommended by command where each command is placed on a new line and zigzags below. The command system outprint line appears twice, which means that two print commands are being executed in the program. The program above will print private class arc system outprint line and the universe system outprint line and the universe. Я думаю, все-таки я не могу, мне надо скачать нормально, типа что-то. Серьезно? То есть, типа, он работает, что ли? Так. читает? Сейчас, секунду, надо почитать кое-что.
Exact Inspector. The programming exercises will be checked by TMC Henrik, who is meticulous. The guidelines and the assignments regarding the print format are very precise. If the assignment expects you to print a parenthesis, you must print the parenthesis. This preciseness with regard to the output is relevant in programming in a more general sense. Missing a single character may cause an error. Novice programmers often enter a comma instead of a dot, and write, for instance, printin instead of println, leave out apostrophes, or forget the semicolon after a command. Any one of these would cause an error and cause the program execution to fail. Learning programming is, in fact, a path full of mistakes, and every error message is a chance to learn. Keep a lookout for any red signs in the IDE, and try to read the test errors. Programming exercise, Once Upon a Time points 01. The exercise template comes with the following template: public class once upon a time, public static void main string args / write your program here. Modify the program so that it will print the following text. Use 3 system.out.println-commands for printing. Sample output. Once upon a time, there was a program SOUT, writing the command system.out.print. Can be taxing. In NetBeans, try to write SOUT on blank line within main, and press Tab, the key left to queue. What happens? This shortcut may save you a lot of time in the future. The animation below illustrates the use of the SOUT command. The user first writes SOUT and then press Tab. Magic, terminology, and code comments. Command parameters. The information to be printed by the print command, i.e. its parameters, are passed to it by placing them inside the parentheses that follow the command. For example, passing hi as a parameter to the system.out.println command is done like this. System.out.println hi. Semicolon separates commands. Commands are separated with a semicolon. We could, if we wanted to, write almost everything on a single line. However, that would be difficult to understand. System.out.println hello, system.out.println world, system.out.println sample output hello world. Although the previous example works, it's important to be considerate of other programmers and your future self, and to use line breaks. That way, anyone reading the program knows that each line does only a single concrete thing. Comments. Source code can be commented to clarify it or to add notes. There are 2 ways to do this. Single line comments are marked with 2 slashes, /. Everything following them on the same line is interpreted as a comment. Multi-line comments are marked with a slash and an asterisk, and closed with an asterisk followed by a //. Everything between them is interpreted as a comment. Below is an example of a program where both are used. Public class comments, public static void main string args, printing system.out.println text to print.
conditional statement begins with the word if followed by parentheses, and the expression is placed inside the parentheses, which is evaluated when the conditional statement. Which is evaluated when the conditional statement is reached. The result of evaluation. Integer number, if number less than 10, system numbers was greater. E aí, prima? Input refers to text written by the user, read by the program. Input refers to text written by the user, read by the program. Input is always read as a string. For reading input, we use the scanner tool that comes for Java. tool can be imported for use in the program by adding to common import Java. It's a scanner before the beginning of the main project frame public class. The tool itself is created with the scanner, and new scanner system. Input refers to text written. Бля, я просто нихуя не понимаю. Бля, что это? Почему оно так убого все выглядит? Боже, как все убого выглядит, блядь. Осуществить пользовательский ввод программы. Материал потом объясняет, как осуществить пользовательский ввод программ на Java. При этом любой текст вводимый пользователем интерпретируется программа как строка. Поэтому любой текст вводимый пользователем начинает интерпретироваться программа. Программа строка. Реализация или функции вводимый класс сканер, который должен быть производительным. Основные точнее принципы поиска. Что такое ввод input текст, который пользователь пишет, а программа считывает? Формат ввода. Вот всегда считывается как строка. Как это считывается как строка? того, что используется современный сканер, его необходимо сначала импортировать программу, добавив import Java. Сначала основной блок программы создания объекта. Современный сканер должен быть создан с помощью команды, который обычно выглядит так: сканер, new сканер. Чтение данных непосредственно. Чтение вводимых данных происходит с помощью метода external сканер. Пока пользователь что напишет нажмет данные после ввода, строка официального пользователя представляется строкой переменной, например, string message. Ввода, строка ожидает, пока пользователь Enter. После ввода строка представляет пользователям после ввода строка представлена пользователем. Присваивается строковая переменная, например, string message. Next scanner, next line, где программа может использовать переменную, например, для печати. Таким образом, класс сканера необходим для того, чтобы ваша программа могла получить информацию пользователя при выполнении. Пошли. Напишите, нажмите Enter. После ввода строка представляет пользователем, ввода строка представляет пользователем, присваивает строковая переменная, например, string message равно. Next, затем программа может использовать переменную, например, для печати. Таким образом, сканер класс необходим для того, чтобы ваша программа могла получить информацию о пользователе во время выполнения. В программе сначала создается сканер, а затем вводится приглашение для пользователя System Out Print Array. Сканер, только потом после этого используется Import Java Util Scanner. Шаг первый. Шаг Import Public Class Program. Public Static. Static Void Main String Args. Шаг создания стоит сканер. Создание строится сканер. New сканер. Ввод сообщение для пользователя. System Out Print Write a Message. Считывание видео на строке. Считывание с видео на строке. Шаг третий. Считывание видео на строке. String message. Печать введенного сообщения. Шаг третий. Считывать видео на строке. Шаг третий. Считывание видео. Шаг третий. Считывание видео на строке. String message. Считывание видео на строке. String message. Scanner next line. Печать выведенного сообщения. Шаг третий. Считывание видео на строке. String message равно. Проще говоря, система от принтера на выход.
Scanner nev scanner, system in, system out printen, write a message. 2-3, string message scanner next line.
Это объявление типа переменной. Мы говорим в Java, что создаем объект, который равняется экземплярам класса сканер. Что говорим в Java, что создаем объект, который равняется экземплярам класса сканер. Это имя, которое вы даете созданному материалу, потом того, как он... Записать на создание нового инструмента объекта сканера. Нет кода для создания объекта. Аргумент системы указывает, что сканер должен считать данные стандартного потока ввода. Сканер должен считать. После создания этого инструмента вы можете использовать его методы, например, сканер next-line. Refer to text written by the user, read by the program. Input is always read. Input for reading input, use the scanner tool that comes with Java. The tool can be Java before the beginning of the main program. Frame public class. The tool itself is creating the scanner system. Below is example program which asks for user. It's just entered by the user and then prints it. Input refers to text written by the user, read by the program. Input is always read a string for. The tool can be imported for using a program. The tool can be imported by using a program by adding the command import Java util scanner before the beginning of the main program frame. Below is an example of a program. Below is example. The tool can be imported for using before the beginning of the main program frame. The tool itself is creating the scanner. More precisely, input is the scanner tools. Is read with the scanner tools next line method. The call scanner is left looking for the user to write something. When the user writes something, process enter the provided string is aligned to a string variable. Is assigned to a string in this message. Is then able to reference a variable message later. In the example above, the variable message referenced in the printing command when the program is run. Its output can look like the example below. This example read the string. Бля, как же мне не нравится, бля, как же мне не нравится. Типа, ну это реально просто невозможно, блядь. везде все самолайк получается. Так. Я помню, типа, я, короче, не могу реально, блядь. Я признаюсь, я только могу видео смотреть, получается.
Thumb. Number 1, number 2.
Бля, сейчас отойду на некоторое время, потому что мне нужно. Сейчас отойду.
2.
Так, алло, короче, продолжаем. Сейчас будем продолжать этот... сейчас мы посмотрим немножко темы, потому что я не очень помню теперь.
All right, everybody. So we are moving on to variables in Java. Probably back in elementary school.
Бля, надо воды принести себе. Сейчас я принесу себе воды.
or middle school, you learned about variables. In algebra, a variable was a representation of a number. Well, in programming, we have variables too. A variable is a reusable container for a value. A variable behaves as if it was the value it contains. But variables can contain more than just numbers. They can contain characters and even entire words. There's different data types. A whole number would be an integer. A number that includes a decimal would be a double. There's two categories of variables we'll discuss: primitive and reference. Primitive variables are simple values, like numbers. They're stored directly in memory, usually in a location known as the stack. Reference variables actually hold memory addresses on the stack. They point to a location in a different area known as a heap. Think of it this way: if I give you a primitive variable, that would be the same as me handing you $10. But if I give you a reference variable, a memory address, that would be the same as me giving you an IOU that says I owe you $10. But the actual money I owe you is at the bank. That might be a beginner's way of thinking of the difference between a primitive and reference data type. Primitive, I'm giving you $10. A reference data type, I'm giving you an IOU that I owe you $10. We'll discuss the different data types. We'll begin with integers. An int, short for integer, is a primitive data type. I'll show you how we can create an integer variable. In Java, there's two steps to creating a variable. The first is declaration. The second is assignment. Let's say we would like to create a variable that stores a whole number, an integer. With the first step of declaration, we're going to first type the data type of what we would like to store exactly. So for integers, we will type int. Then we should think of a unique variable name. We don't want to say x or something similar. That would make sense in basic algebra. But in programming, you want your variables to be descriptive. Like, shut up. In programming, you want your variables to be descriptive. So let's say we are working with, let's say, int age. End this line with a semicolon. So this is declaration. Step 1. We are creating a variable named age. If I was to print my variable of age, system.out.println, let's print age and see what it is. Variable age might not have been initialized. We're using a variable, but we've never given it a value. We've never completed step 2 of assignment. So we can set age equal to a value. So on my YouTube channel, the average age of my viewers is approximately 21 or so. So let's set age to be 21, and then we'll print it. So that outputs 21. If I were to change this to 30, then my variable age would behave as if it was the number 30. So those are integers, they're whole numbers. Let's say that I'm 30.5. Let's see what happens exactly. You can see that IntelliJ is already giving us a warning that we're working with a different data type known as doubles. So if I were to run this, we get an error message. We have incompatible types from double to int. If we declare a variable as an integer, they can only store whole integers. Let's think of a few more examples. Another example of an integer could be a year. So let's say the year is 2025. Then we'll print our year. 2025. Or maybe a quantity. Int quantity equals 1. Then we'll print our quantity. 1. So when working with quantities, they're whole numbers usually, right? We wouldn't have, let's say, half a product, 1.5. I would like 1.5 Nintendo Switches. That wouldn't make sense, right? They would be whole numbers, like 1 or 2. Now you can output a variable with a string of text as well. Let's say the year is, then I'll add plus a variable, year. Make sure that the variable is not within quotes. So currently this says, the year is 2025. You do have to pay attention to the spacing. So after the word is, I'm going to have space to separate is and the variable year. The year is 2025. Now if our variable was within quotes, we would literally be printing the word year. The year is year. So don't do that, unless it's intentional. Let's go on to the next data type. The next data type is double. Double is a number, but it can contain a decimal portion, unlike int. Ints are whole numbers. So this time, we will create a variable type of double. What are some examples of a variable that could be a double? Let's say a price. There could be dollars and cents. $19.99. Or perhaps a GPA, a grade point average. Double GPA equals 3.5. Or a temperature. Double temperature equals negative 12.5. All right, let's output some of these. Let's do price. System.out.println. Let's output the price. 19.99. Let's add a unit of currency. I'll pick American dollars. So $ plus price. $19.99. If you were to assign a variable that's a double data type, but store an integer, here's what would happen. We would just add 0.0 to the end. It's still a double. So those are doubles. They're numbers that can contain a decimal portion, unlike integers. Okay, then the next data type we have is char, meaning character. Char pronounced like the word Charizard. So with chars, what are a few examples of single characters we could use? Let's say a grade, like a letter grade. With chars, characters, we enclose them within single quotes. Let's say we have the letter A. That's the grade we got on the last test or something. Or maybe a symbol. Maybe I'll put an exclamation point or something. Or currency. Char currency equals, pick a unit of currency. I'll pick dollars. Okay, then let's output some of these. System.out.println. Let's print our grade, which is an A. Or our symbol, an exclamation point, or our currency, which is American dollars. So then we have something called booleans. Booleans are either true or false. We will declare this variable as a boolean. Let's check to see if somebody is a student. Our variable name will be is student, and this equals true or false. So if I am a student, I would say true. Now, a common naming convention in Java is called camel case naming convention. If your variable name takes up two words, such as is and student, when you combine them, the first letter of the first word should be lowercase, then any word after, the first letter is going to be uppercase. So is student, and I will set that to be true. Maybe something is for sale or not. Boolean for sale equals false. It's not for sale. Is somebody online? Boolean is online, and I will set that to be true. These are a few examples of Boolean variables. Now you could output them directly using system.out.println. Let's test it. System.out.println. Let's output is student. Are we a student? That is true. Is something for sale? For sale. That is false. Now with Boolean variables, we don't typically output them directly to the console. We tend to use them more internally within a program. One place in which you might see them is with the use of if statements. And this is a future topic, we'll revisit it later, but I want to demonstrate the usefulness of Booleans. So this is an if statement. We can check some condition, parentheses, then curly braces. If our condition is true, if
Бля, яченическое. This is Java. Блять, коврами обклеилась. We tried. This is true. Black.
Is student double equals true, but we could simplify this to if is student. If this variable contains true, which it does, we can execute some code. System.out.println, we will print the following. You are a student. If this Boolean variable contains true, we will print the following. You are a student. Or we could add else, an else clause. Else, let's print, you are not a student. So currently, we're still a student. But if this Boolean variable contained a value of false, we would perform the else statement.
If Boolean is online true equals true. If is student system out println you're a student. You're a student.
You are not a student. So we'll cover if statements in a future topic. You don't necessarily need to know how these work right now, but that's one of the uses of Booleans. They can only contain true or false. These are a few of the basic primitive data types for beginners. Int for integers, they contain whole numbers. Doubles are numbers, but they can contain a decimal. Chars, meaning characters, are single characters. And Booleans, which are either true or false.
Блять, пожалуйста, английский.
These are a few of the beginner primitive data types. But there's still a lot more than this. There's floats, there's long doubles, all sorts of different data types. But you don't
Можно, пожалуйста, как-то вот...
need to know those as a beginner. I would just stick to these four for now. So then we have the reference data types. I would decimal. Chars, meaning character, true or false. These are a few of the basic only contain true or false. Cover if statements in a future topic. You are not false. We would perform the. But if this Boolean variable contained a value of false, we would perform the else statement. Value of false. Currently, we're still a student. But if this Boolean variable contains.
То есть является истине. То есть если получается оно равно истине,
a value of false, we would perform the else statement. You are not a student. So we'll cover if statements in a future topic. You don't necessarily need to know how these work right now, but that's one of the uses of Booleans. They can only contain true or false. These are a few of the basic primitive data types for beginners. Int for integers, they contain whole numbers. Doubles are numbers, but they can contain a decimal. Chars, meaning characters, are single characters, and Booleans, which are either true or false. These are a few of the beginner primitive data types. But there's still a lot more than this. There's floats, there's long doubles, all sorts of different data types, but you don't need to know those as a beginner. I would just stick to these 4 for now. So then we have the reference data types, a few of which include strings, arrays, and objects. In this topic, we're only going to discuss strings, a series of characters. Arrays and objects are really complex. We'll revisit these later. So we're going to create a string, a series of characters. So the data type is going to be string. An example of a series of characters could be a name. What's your name? With strings, we enclose them within double quotes. Chars, single characters, are single quotes. It's really easy to mix the two up. You might do it a few times as a beginner. So type in your name, including a space. I'll use my YouTube channel name. And then we will output our name, system.out.println. Print your name. And your first and last name should appear. Now we could use this variable of name within another string. This is known as string concatenation. So let's say, hello, plus our name.
Так, я пытаюсь вспомнить, а где тут локация-то, которую, типа, мне надо посетить? Какая-то такая маленькая резервация, к слову. SQL. SQL. Я как-то не могу вспомнить, а где эта локация-то? Типа, тут должен быть чел, короче, который... как бы... Может, типа, его ночью тут нету. Ну, по идее, так как я ближе здесь, потом сюда поедем.
Hello, brocode, or whatever your name is. What are a few other examples of strings we could write? Let's add string food equals, again within a set of double quotes, add your favorite food. Mine is pizza. Then let's type again system.out.println. Your favorite food is, plus the variable food. Your favorite food is pizza. What about an email? String email equals, make up an email, fake123@gmail.com. Strings, they can contain numbers, but we treat them more as characters rather than actual numbers that we can use for any sort of math or arithmetic. So let's print our email. Your email is plus email. Your email is fake123@gmail.com. Or what about a car? String car. Think of a car that you like. I will pick a Mustang. That's another example of a string. Or a color. String color equals red. So strings are a series of characters. They have a reference data type. You may have also noticed that the font color of strings is different from the primitive data types too of booleans, chars, doubles, and ints. At least within my workspace, the font color is orange. And with strings, the font color of these data types is white. Now we're going to cover a few exercises.
Да,
So let's start with our name, system.out.println. We will print hello plus our name variable. It's a string.
That's an interesting way of putting it, Seamus.
No doubt. I do interesting very well. It's trusting I don't do so well.
Please. Arthur, this is Seamus. He's our new partner.
I ain't no such thing.
Prospective new partner, if he likes us.
Liking ain't the problem. Trusting is. As I said, keep your voices down. I don't want my boss hearing. This is a sideline.
Of course. Look at us. Honest as the day is long.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what. Let us prove ourselves.
Prove ourselves? To this clown? What you talking about?
Good day, Hosea. Good luck with your business dealings.
Listen, He's rough and ready and quick with his tongue, but I swear you can trust him and trust me.
I'm an old man.
You're not old, Seamus.
I'm old enough. And you know I ain't dead.
You don't trust idiots.
Exactly.
We're not idiots. Let us prove it to you.
Okay. I'll tell you what.
Arthur.
Old Bob Crawford and his boys just bought a beautiful stolen stagecoach from upstate. It's in their barn. Now you go get that, and then we can work together.
Who's old Bob Crawford?
An acquaintance of mine.
So you want us to take out your competition?
Well, he's not just an acquaintance, but a cousin. By marriage. I also want to see if you boys got what it takes. Now, you survive that.
Where is he?
He's in a farmhouse just northwest of here called Carmody Dell. It's just up the train tracks as you're heading up towards Fort Wallace. There's also some money in that house, but that's your business, not mine. But don't kill nobody. Folks know we ain't intimate no more, and they'll know it was me.
But you're fine with us robbing your cousin.
By marriage. And yes, I'd love it.
You heard the man. Let's go rob his cousin.
By marriage.
Okay.
Ой.
Hello, your first and last name. Let's print our age. System.out.println. You are. We're going to insert our variable age, then add another string literal. You are age, years old. Again, do pay attention to the spacing. You are 30 years old. Let's use my GPA. That's a double.
Really?
System.out.println.
He said the place is just
Your
northwest of
GPA is. Then we will insert our GPA.
Простите, ребята, но мне что-то как-то тяжеловато немножко играть, типа, сейчас, потому что у меня башка немного набухла.